There are bad habits that I would like to stop, and there are good habits that I would like to start. The bad habits are often easy and tempting, whereas the good habits often require determination and patience. What advice do you have for changing habits? In addition to that, how do you commit to the changes and stick with it? Thanks, Meow.
That is a great question, Meow. Habits are an interesting thing. They kind of take over our lives to some degree. We get into habits, and then and kind of the definition of a habit is something that we do automatically, as a result of having done it over and over and over and over again. It's like, what leg do you put your pants on first with?
I only do both at the same time.
Well, that's a habit.
Mm-hmm.
You only do both at the same time.
That's about right.
You jump into your pants.
Always.
I put both socks on at the same time. That's what I do.
Okay, no, I don't know. Okay, I can see how you could do that. So you take both socks and you put them on one foot. Then you can put them on at the same time.
Yeah. I could. Maybe.
Legit.
I don't know. It's a secret.
It's the secret. I have a secret technique where I can put both socks on at the same time. No, you can't. Fine. No, I'm not going to share it. You'll never know. You'll just wonder about that your whole life now. You're welcome.
That's right. How do you put both your socks on at the same time?
Magically. I'll release a video in like 10 years from now, and it's going to get 1 million views.
So be sure you like and subscribe to this channel. I'll put it on this.
Nice.
So you're just subscribed, and be sure you ring the bell, because 10 years from now, I'm going to show you how it's done.
My secret. Better subscribe so you don't forget to show up in 10 years.
Wait, Saule, did we make that video public? These are not my pants. These are my pants. Double thick. Or if you just remember that from a long time ago when that video was around.
I think that video is still public.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I want to go watch it.
Or someone shared a link and he found it because of that link. Maybe someone shared a link on Don't Worry Wednesday one time.
Okay, that could be the case. I'm not sure what's public or private anymore on this channel, where it's being geared, I guess.
Watched it years ago. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so habits. Ryan, I'm sure you got some great advice on habits. I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can take it away. So, Ryan.
Awesome. Well, I would ultimately defer to Joe, but I will take a stab at it. I know Joe's going to be. All right, I'm done. Joe, your turn. I will take a stab at it. Thank you, Joe. Tell me to stab it again.
Stab it.
Awesome. Now I'm invigorated. Let's do it. For habits, I would say, obviously, habits are hard to change, right? Habits are, they're hard to change. One of the best things you can do for changing your habits is to develop one particular habit. Okay? There are many times where one habit, if you develop it, it can change a lot of other habits. Right? Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say you develop the habit of asking yourself what you're doing, right? Because if you develop a habit of asking yourself what you're doing, whenever you go to do something, you're like, wait, what am I about to do? It will prevent you from habitually doing something without thinking, right? Sometimes we act without thinking about it. A lot of our perceptions are this way, right? For example, if someone says not perceptions, but like reactions. A lot of our reactions are this way. If someone calls you an idiot, what's your response? Did you know that whatever response that is, it's a habit? Right? If someone calls you an idiot and you have an emotional response, that's out of habit. that you have that emotional response most of the time. On rare occasions, it's not out of habit, but most of the time, it's a habitual response. Your subconscious mind takes in that information, turns it into an emotion, and that's essentially what a habit is anyways. It's your subconscious mind kind of taking action, right? Right? Subconscious mind is where our habits are formed and executed, right? So that can be being able to walk and ride a bike.
At the same
Right?
time?
Different times or both, I guess. If you can do them at the same time, that would be beyond me. Being able to walk or being able to ride a bike. And the reason the beautiful thing is that we're able to walk and speak at the same time and have thoughts at the same time, right? And maybe even chew bubblegum at the same time, right? And we can do all of these things because a lot of these things are registered into our habits, into our subconscious mind, right? So one thing that's beautiful is that we can change our subconscious mind as long as we know that we are capable, right? So our responses don't have to be our initial responses. Our initial responses don't have to stay the same. At some point in your life, you might get to the point where someone calls you an idiot, and instead of being emotionally hurt, you could be triggered with the emotion of happiness. You'd be like, I don't know, you just take that person calls you an idiot and you're like, he's not even right. That's so funny. I don't know, that just makes me happy because I'm beyond that now, right? I don't have to be affected by that in a bad way anymore. So that just makes me happy, right? Mm-hmm. That is a response that you've built into you through habits, through changing your perspective on the world, through going through problems and slowly modifying yourself, right? So I think it's super awesome, Meow, that you're working on your habits. That habits, they're a lot of your life. A lot of your life is just defined by habits alone, right? So you can develop habits that question yourself. Like, is this the right emotional response? Is what I'm about to do a good response for what just happened, right? If you get into the habit of questioning yourself, it really helps to avoid doing stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
And it can help you with fixing your bad habits, right? Or creating better habits, right? So I would say question yourself often. And Meow, you might already be doing that. You know, you come with this question to us, likely because you are questioning yourself. But I'm saying continue doing that. Continue questioning yourself. Because if you don't question yourself, how can you improve yourself? A lot of people go through the world and say, I am who I am, right? And good, I'm glad you are who you are, right? I am who I am, and I'm not changing. That's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? As soon as you say, and I'm not changing, like, that's not good because we, as human beings, in order to fulfill like love, in order to fulfill human desire, we have to change, right? It's important to change. When people have a bad attitude and they say, no, I have a bad attitude and I'm sticking with it, right? They've just ruined their own day and the day of everyone around them, right? So that's not good, right? So anyways, question yourself often. I can tell you one thing that makes a big impact on me and a habit that really helps me with my bad habits as well as my good habits. But it's a rather religious one, so I hope you don't mind. If you have the habit of prayer, where you, I'm going to, I don't want to take too long on this. I'll refrain from going too far into it. But if you have the habit of speaking to God, right, on any time where you're not involved in anything, right? If you are walking from one location to another and you're not currently doing something, right, your mind is now capable of talking to itself, right? There are so many moments in our lives where we begin to talk to ourselves. We begin to start an inner discussion with ourselves. If I feel that inner discussion with God, with godly things, with things as if I'm talking to God, as if he is my friend and we are having a conversation, I'm including him in my inner dialogue now, right? That habit creates an abundance of virtue and especially helps reform our bad habits. If you are not a religious person, I would say the same thing except for this. Have the habit of whenever you enter dialogue with yourself, which is going to happen at every moment of the day when you are not currently preoccupied with talking to another person or watching a piece of information or working, right? So anytime outside of those times, you have an inner dialogue that's going on constantly, even while you're doing those things, right? If you're doing something really mundane, like, I just have to staple these papers over and over and over. At some point, it's going to get so habitual that you are going to begin inner dialogue with yourself. If you can fill that inner dialogue with something that is uplifting, if you can consciously make an effort to fill your dialogue, your inner dialogue, with something that is good, with something that is geared towards the positive, right? Eventually that will become a habit. And when that becomes a habit, it becomes a lot easier to live a virtuous life. It's a lot more easy to like yourself. It's a lot more easy to have good conversation with yourself, right? It just comes naturally, right? Because it's a habit now, it's natural. So it's natural for you to like yourself. It's natural for you to get away from those things that were bad habits and start going towards those things which are good habits. It's very natural because your inner dialogue, who you think you are, the way you talk to yourself, when you aren't distracting yourself with crazy activities, right? Who you are inside, your heart, that inner dialogue, your heart, right? In the ancient world, heart meant many things. It didn't ever mean emotion. Now in the American world, we define heart as emotion, right? Or simply desire, emotion and desire. Heart in the ancient world meant will, that inner dialogue, a secret place inside of ourselves that we don't even know fully, but it is what part of what defines us, what makes us different than everybody else, right? That was what our heart was. And that's a good way to look at it, because if you can work on your heart in that way, not work on your heart as in emotions or desires, but work on your heart as in who you are inside, that inner dialogue, that will, whatever you will, right? Work on that, then your habits across the board. Make a good habit of that one thing, and your habits across the board will be moved to a higher state of life, a higher state of mind, a better form, more virtuous lifestyle, right? So that's the best information, best possible thing I can give you from my experiences. I'm going to go over to Joe, who's had to deal with probably more intense habits than I have, and has done a wonderful job getting over them. So I'm going to give over to the best man to speak.
I don't know if that's the case. Ryan, I did want to ask, can you maybe recap, what are those things that you said, the good habits to develop? Were they like asking, what are you doing?
Asking
what are you thinking?
yourself, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Is this the right move? Is this the right thing to do, right? You form a habit of asking yourself questions about what you're doing, about who you are, right?
Okay.
Like that, yeah. And then the other one is to fill your interior life, your inner dialogue with goodness. For me, that's God, but whatever it is for you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I was dealing with production things. Hey, Sparrow. So I was like, oh, this is really good. And then I didn't quite catch it all. And I was like, oh, dang, I'm going to have to ask him to repeat that so I can be reminded of it. But yeah, man, I'm telling you that's some really good stuff. To get into that habit of asking yourself what it is you're doing, why it is you're doing it. I remember getting into that habit of asking myself why a lot. Why do I feel this way? Why am I allowing myself to feel this way? Why am I doing this? Why do I allow this to be a part of my life? Like what? Those are great questions to ask yourself. And it sounds to me, Meow, like you're already doing this to some extent because you're asking about the habits that you're developing. And so you're already kind of having this internal dialogue of asking, what it is you're doing, what kind of habits are you developing? How can I develop better ones? These are really good questions to ask and to continue to ask for our entire lives, because we can get blindsided by a habit that just creeps into our life. And then all of a sudden we're in the middle of it. So something that I've been taught about habits, one, it takes about 28 days to doing something every day for 28 days to develop a habit. And then what I've been told, it takes another week to really cement that habit into place. And I have found that to be true. So it takes about a month. If you want to develop a good habit, it takes about a month. If you want to get rid of a bad habit, that's a little bit different. Getting rid of a bad habit, if you approach it by saying, I'm going to get rid of this habit, chances are you will probably not succeed. The best way I've found to get rid of a bad habit is to replace it with a different habit. So you have to figure out what it is that you've determined that you want to change. And rather than saying, okay, I'm going to get rid of this by saying, anytime I feel like I need to do this, I'm going to not do it. No, the key then is to do something different that's better in those times and develop a good habit in response to that bad habit creeping up in your life. Does that make sense? So if you can get into the mode of saying, all right, if I have these things I want to change, I'm going to replace them rather than get rid of them, if that makes sense. And I have found that to be way, way more effective. And there are habits all around us in our life. We have all kinds of habits that we don't even recognize as habits because we don't even think about them anymore. We just do them. We get up a certain way, we have stuff we do when we first get up. They could be beneficial to us. They could not be beneficial to us. It's weird. I used to talk all the time about this book called The Miracle Morning. And it talks about having a morning routine. And this is where I got this, it takes the extra week to really cement the habit into place. And it's true because, man, it was years ago that I read this book and started putting this guy's practices into place in my mornings. And it was really, really helpful. And now I still do it. I don't follow his chart anymore. I don't have to because I just automatically do the things that are in there. I get up, I go get some coffee and take my vitamins and then go back and read my Bible and pray and meditate and journal. And then I exercise and then I get on with my day, right? So I have this morning routine that is based on all kinds of things to help me develop myself as a person, prayer, meditation, journaling, reading, exercising. But I usually start, I said I got a cup of coffee in the morning. I always drink water first. Okay. That is one thing I can tell you this. You will change your life. If you don't drink water first thing in the morning, do it. Big glass of water. And I'm telling you, like you will feel so much better because after you sleep for however long you sleep, a lot of people, it's maybe between 6 and 8 hours that you're sleeping. Some of us, it's less. But you have an extended period of time where you have not had any water. And so you are dehydrated when you wake up. I promise you.
You don't know it, but you are.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so I'm telling you, drink water. So I always drink water first and then coffee and then take my vitamins and then go and, get on with everything else that I'm doing. So there is one habit. I mean, Ryan talked about one habit that is kind of like will help all habits fall into place. And that is to question yourself and to ask, to be mindful of what it is that you're doing. And that is so right on. Like to question the things you're doing and then also question why. I'm big proponent of the question why. I mean, my kids used to ask me why all the time. Why? And then you'd tell them why, and then they'd say why again, and then and then you'd have to come up with something. And eventually, it usually devolved into because I don't know. That's the way God made the universe.
Usually what I do when people, like when the kids ask me why about all sorts of different stuff, I just get into like really technical stuff because that's what they're asking. And then they don't understand any of it. And then it's just like, I'm just geeking out and they don't, it doesn't really matter.
Really? Because in my experience, anytime I would do that, they would just come back with why.
Yeah, that's fine. You just continue to geek out about something like way too intense. You know they don't get it. You know they don't get it, and it's fine. Because then it's a game. Now you're like, what's the most technical way I can describe this?
Yeah. Totally. Kids are great, man. And we're all just grown-up kids, I mean, that's just kind of how that all works. But I did think of another habit that you can develop. And this might also take you 28 days to develop this habit, but this habit will enable you to create all other habits in your life. And that is develop the habit of taking action. Develop the habit of taking action and taking action quickly. Like you can sit and analyze things and it's a good thing to do. A lot of times we need to think about what it is we're going to do before we do it. There are a few different personality types out there. My personality type tends to analyze and analyze and analyze and think and think. And, if I was going to, let's say we're going to shoot a gun, right? My personality type would be like, ready, aim, 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 and just continue to aim. And, if you fire, it's like this big, huge accomplishment because you just spent all that time aiming.
Did you see that?
He just did it. Yes. He actually shot the gun. It's amazing. There are other personalities. Let's see. What's other? Okay. So Ryan's personality is a little bit different. He also tends to be in this aiming category, but he's more like, do I need to pick up the gun even?
That's true. Do I actually
do I need to do this?
Thinking about it. Do I really have to pick up the gun and shoot it? Nah, I don't have to. I don't really have to. Maybe I won't.
Yep.
Maybe I will. We'll see. I'll just play it by ear. If it comes to it, I'll do it. If it doesn't, then I'll whatever. I don't have to.
Right. There are other personalities. They're like, okay, so Ryan's more on the phlegmatic side. I'm more on the melancholy side. We have cholerics, who they are like fire and then aim. Aim by firing. So like, did I hit it? No. Fire again. Just like,
yeah.
Make your adjustments as you're blowing holes and things and wasting bullets. Right? Like,
yeah, I love that analogy. That's great. That's accurate. It's super accurate.
Yep. And then the sanguine personality, they're just dancing and firing the gun up in the air. They don't even care, right? They're just like, hey, it's a party. Like, you think of Old West New Year's Eve or whatever, right?
Old West New Year's
Eve. They're all out in the town square, like shooting the gun off and everything. So those are some things you can pay attention to in yourself. So you can be like, all right, what type of personality am I? How do I tend to be in this? Do I overanalyze things? Or do I take action immediately? If you take action immediately, then maybe you need to kind of pull back and think about things a little bit before you do things. Like think before you act is a good thing. But I would venture to say most people don't have that problem. Most people have the problem of overanalyzing and delaying and procrastinating and all this kind of stuff, right? So if you can develop a habit of taking action, that will enable you to develop any habit you want faster because you are taking action. Depending on how important this is, depending on how big of a deal it is to you, you may want to make up a calendar or just print off a free calendar somewhere or whatever, and then just say, all right, I got my 4 weeks here. I got my 28 days or my, 30, what would it be? 35 days to really cement it into place, right? And then say, this is the habit I'm trying to develop. Write that up on the top of your calendar, and then just put an X on each day where you do that habit. And then you can track it. And then you can see, okay, now if you're like me, if I do this and I miss a day, normally I beat myself up. That's generally what I do. I missed a day. I got to figure out how to make it happen before the end of the day. And then I start analyzing, well, is it still the day if it's after midnight and I'm still awake, or did the day end at midnight? I don't know. And then I have like a little crisis in my head, trying to determine that. And, like I said, I'm that analytical guy, right? I overanalyze things. But so those are some things that you can do that can kind of help you along this path. I've had to do that a lot. I've made a lot of calendars where I've had habits and I've just put X's on days, on those days when I did the certain thing that I said I was going to do. I don't have currently a calendar going about that because maybe I need to start trying to develop a new habit. I don't know. But anyway, Meow, that's probably about the best advice I can give you. So now how do you develop the action habit? One of the best ways I've found to develop the habit of taking action is it comes from Mel Robbins. She's an author, and she has a book called The 5-Second Rule. Now, it's not the 5-second rule of food falling on the floor. It's a different 5-second rule. She has a rule where when she thinks of something that she needs to do, she counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And then starts going, right? Because what she noticed was that within 5 seconds, she will talk herself out of doing the thing she knows she needs to do. So she's like, I need to get myself in that frame of taking action within 5 seconds. And so I do this countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I'm focused on the counting down. And when I say go, it's just kind of like I automatically start moving in that direction. And that actually works. I was kind of surprised. I don't subscribe to every, motivational mumbo jumbo that's out there. There's a lot of stuff out there that's good, and there's a lot of stuff out there that's questionable. So, it's good to use some discernment in that area, but that one seems to work really well. And I'll tell you, taking action on things and then questioning yourself, those are great habits to develop the habit of developing new habits, so to speak, I guess. So I don't know. Ryan, did you have anything else about this topic?
No, I think I've said everything I can say. So I've got nothing more.
You got nothing. Princess put the link there in the chat for the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. I always enjoyed the 5-second rule when it came to food, because then it's like free food. Somebody else dropped it. 5-second rule.
Is that how that works? Okay.
Now, I'll tell you what, though. I used to work at a bar and grill. I worked in the kitchen, as a chef. Well, not a chef. I was a cook. And the 5-second rule doesn't apply back there.
Oh, no.
Ryan, would you say the 5-second rule would apply at Taco Bell when you're working back there?
No.
No? Would you eat anything off
people
the floor?
People were pretty good about not doing that. Yeah, you would have gotten in all kinds of trouble.
You got all kinds of trouble if you were eating food off the floor?
It's funny. Yes. Even if you okay, in where we worked at Taco Bell, because this started happening so often, okay, we were allowed to, when I first started working there, we were kind of allowed to eat mistakes, right? Oh, we made a taco, but they asked for no sour cream on their Supreme taco. I don't know why they ordered a Supreme, but whatever they did, and they said no sour cream. Okay, well, that's what we made, but we made it normal Supreme, and now we've got a taco with Supreme or with sour cream on it. We can't, there's nothing we can do. So it's a mistake. And no one else has ordered a Supreme taco in the last 20 minutes. So we've got a taco here doing nothing. When I first started working there, we were kind of allowed to eat that taco, the coworkers. But then it became this issue of people saying, or the corporate saying, well, people are starting to make mistakes on purpose just so they can eat. So we had to throw away mistakes, and we were not allowed to eat our mistakes anymore as a regulation. So that would include if you dropped something on the floor. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. If you drop something on the floor, that's an immediate mistake. You got to throw that away.
You got to throw that away.
Yeah. You're not allowed to eat it because you get in trouble for eating it.
I know. It's a shame. We throw so much food away. We threw a lot of food away at the restaurant I worked at, too.
I would never eat anything off of the floor of Taco Bell. That would be so disgusting.
No.
I would,
the floors in a kitchen?
Yeah, they're gross.
They're gross. They're slippery.
They're slippery. Yeah, you've got people, you drop food on the ground and people walk in with their dirty shoes and they step on them and you've got dirt ingrained cheese smashed into the ground and then it's all over the floor and it's gross.
And who knows what kind of dog poop they stepped in on the way in or something like that. Hey.
Yeah. I walked across an inch thick of insects. So in
all those
Houghton
mayflies or whatever.
Yeah, in Houghton Lake, where I used to live, mayflies, they come in a swarm and it's insane. You would not believe your eyes if 10,000 fireflies. No, it's more than that. It's way more than 10,000. It's up there I'd say in the millions of mayflies.
I would agree.
Cover the buildings. Any building that has light on it, they completely cover and consume it. And it's funny, they die within 48 hours. So what ends up happening is millions of mayflies cover these buildings and then they die. And then you have an inch thick blanket of mayfly on the ground. And you have to walk through that to get in the building. You're trying to get in the building, you open up the door and it's just and you're like, that's so gross. It's so gross. It's so gross. And it's squishy as you're saying. I'm sorry, guys. If you don't like insects, I'm really sorry. That really turned you off, but that's literally something that I've done. It's gross. It's crazy.
I can definitely understand that. And then you walk in there, and then now you've got mayfly guts all over the floor. So that makes you really want to eat the stuff off the floor.
That's basically what I was getting at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, that was that topic.
Yeah.
I felt like I needed to share that story for some reason.
Well, thank you so much, Meow. Thank you for that topic. Hopefully some of that was helpful for you. Hopefully you'll be able to develop some of those new habits. But like I said, and like Ryan said, you're already on the right track because you're asking these questions of yourself. You're asking questions about how do I develop habits? You understand habits will drive our lives, right? A thought produces an action, right? Actions over time produce habits, and habits over time produce our life. It really does. You know, it produces our day-to-day living. You know, our habits really drive things. You don't think about breathing. I mean, that's like instinctual, so that might be that might be beyond habit. But yeah. Anyway,
But it does run your life.
it does.
If you don't breathe, you don't live for very long.
Not for long.
Yeah.
Unless you're David Blaine or something. Probably
Yeah,
survive.
but still not for long.
You probably
Like 10
survive
minutes
for a
is-
week without breathing if you're David Blaine.
David Blaine, yeah. I know that he can do I think like 10 minutes, 20 minutes or something like that.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Ugh.
But
Do not try
that's still
this
not
at
very
home.
long. 20 minutes of life is not much life at all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We do need oxygen. So don't deprive yourself of that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be
Could
good.
happen.
Yes. It would be good. So anyway, well, let's move on. Meow, thank you again. Hopefully that was helpful. I appreciate you sharing your topic with us. So